Down. Shake it. So today's class, we're going to cover a couple of different things. I'm going to kind of sprinkle in controls throughout other stuff. And I was watching some people kick. No one on this particular webinar or anything. But I noticed when kicks fail, that most people just kind of don't have a recovery technique to follow it. So we're going to do some techniques following failing kicks. Now, I hate training kicks that fail. In other words, you never want to plan for failure in your kick or work on it, but we're going to basically overextend on some kicks or rotate past center on some kicks. Basic mistakes that you make when you're actually kicking a person because you want to make contact with them or they just scoot just out of range when you're working. So that's some of the stuff we're going to work there. All right, go to figure eights. Boom, figure eights. Nice hips. Just making little circles with hips. And the other way. So that's one topic we're covering is really when kicks go awry. And I just noticed when people kick the heavy bag or something, they're just out of range or the bag is a little lighter than they planned for. So we'll cover that. Okay. Beat the other or push. Make circles. And ankle. The other thing I want to cover is really just a couple of throw setups. So working some of our basic throws, but just walking through the setup of them. I was talking to some of our other older black belts that are teaching judo and stuff, and all they're doing is basically shadow, throwing, So I figured we might try and get some of that done, and then, as I said, controls throughout. So side of your foot. And other foot. And feet apart. Just stretch down. Come all the way up, stretch to one foot. Up, stretch to the other foot. And the both feet. Turn, stretch. And turn and stretch. And lean towards one wall. And lean towards the other wall. Good, take a seat. One leg on top of the other leg, stretch forward. And stretch to one knee. And stretch the other knee. So just a pro tip on this stretch. So in this case, my bottom leg is my left leg and my top leg is my right leg. Anytime I'm stretching towards my top leg, I always put a fist underneath it, mostly because I don't want to be pushing down on that side and causing strain to my hip. So I just always put a fist underneath so I can keep my leg in place and stretch to it that way. Just kind of a pro tip. I've been doing it for years. Go ahead and switch sides. So when I stretch forward, I'm trying to put my elbows on the ground or face on the ground. And then I stretch to the top leg or bottom leg. Make sure you got a fist underneath. And the other side. Put your feet together. No pro tips on butterflies. You just do them. And stretch forward. And then pull them all the way in as far as you can. And then bounce a little bit. Good. One in, one out. Make sure you keep your knees straight. Stretch it. So one of the reasons I always do what I consider kind of bouncing contractions where I'm working here is it takes about like I think it's like a 1/7 of a second for your muscle to go into full contraction. So what we're trying to do is relax enough to make that muscle come out of contraction and then put it back into contraction. So you're generally getting about 7 to 10 extra stretches versus just, if you just hold it, nothing happens. It's in contraction, that's it. Okay? So I'm trying to relax. So it looks like bouncing, but it's not dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching where you're kind of trying to bounce harder and harder forward. That's why I always bounce. Okay? Switch sides. Stretch. Leg on top. And stretch forward. Nice, just relax. Staple your fingers. Go ahead and stretch your wrist. In this case, compression. You can also do compression down. I like to do compression in the air because I get a little bit more stretching out of it. Good, looking at your palm. Simple wrist. This is not actually a stretch. There's no way to stretch your radius on them, but I guess there is, in which you cause a fracture to happen, in which it's past the point of stretching. But there you go. Pull back on your fingers. I actually saw a really cool video, I think it was yesterday, where somebody had taken a skeleton and shown how the radius ulna bones work and why we punch vertically versus horizontally, because they're actually fully crossed at that point. Switch the lines. But it was a fascinating video to kind of look at, was how the forearm bones actually interact. All right, enough about forearm bones. So Tabata. Today we're going to do tires or moonwalking, your choice as to what you call it. But in essence, you start and you just basically do hop outs where you're just hopping like you're walking on the moon. If you don't have much room, you can do a 4-corner one where you just kind of hop 1, 2, 3, 4, where you're just kind of hopping basically forward and then backwards. That's kind of part one. Okay. Next one is going to be challenging for at least me, if not everybody else. You're basically going to have a half body, so I'm on my knees. I'm going to go down and then push myself back up again. Now the hard part on this particular one is not to cavitate, so you don't want your butt to come up in the air when you're doing it. That's easy. You want your body to be as straight as you can, and it's super tough. Okay, but good for your triceps. Okay. Next one, again, also hard. Your choice as to whether or not you do hand or elbow, but you're doing hip downs. We'll do 30 seconds on one side and then flip over 30 seconds on the other. This is all the obliques, so again, it's pretty tough. And last one, just adding from Mondays. So on Monday we did downward dog to step back. Now we're going to do downward dog to step back to what it really is. So downward dog, step back, pull this leg through, get the side control. So it's kind of a full motion. It is not a speed drill necessarily. So you step back, you pull the other leg, and you get to side. Okay? Or if you want, you get to preacher, whatever you want to call it. All right? That's the techniques of today on the Tabata. As always, going nice and light for everybody. Start with moonwalking. Only about 10 seconds left. Nice. All right, half push-up pop-ups. So this is an ease down, it's not a front fall. So ease yourself down, push yourself back up again. Go for it. More than halfway done. Nice. Now we're doing abs, side abs. So hip downs. Again, you can go full arm or you can go to elbow. I'm going to probably do mine on elbow just because I did arms today already. Try and keep your body as straight as you can. All right, switching sides. Nice work, guys. All right, last one is step back from downward dog into side control. And mainly on this one, this is our non-cardio. This recovery is just go slow and smooth. Unlike Mondays where we went for speed. Nice, back to moonwalks. I'd say moonwalks is probably my favorite things to watch you guys do. Watching 9 people do moonwalks, it's awesome. Cool, nice work, guys. Push-ups or half-ups. Feel free to cheat. Only about 20 seconds left. Hip downs. And here we go. Switch sides. Nice work, guys. All right, step backs to side. Control. Nice. Go ahead and take a break. Get a drink of water if you want. Get relax going. So what we're going to start with is when kicks kind of go wrong or make a mistake or whatever. And the most common one is you throw a front kick and they move just out of range and you can't recover it. So, you know, it's not your standard, I'm kicking air. It's I'm actually trying to kick that person and they just move just slightly back and you can't recover it, so you end up stepping forward. Okay? So on these kicks, I don't want you to do crappy kicks because that would be kind of counter to what we train to. So throw your kick, step forward like you got balance transfer, and then front reverse. Okay? No reason you can't throw a punch. All right? So let's go 5 on a side. So kick, take that step down, punch, punch. I'm definitely putting a lot of weight on my front leg as I come down on it, just to kind of simulate that moment. Nice. So the next kick we're doing, front stomp kick. So in this case, I'm pushing my hip out. Maybe I'm kicking through a door or a person, and that door is lightweight, where that person kind of starts moving back on the kick. So again, I'm going to stomp kick. I'm going to put it down in front just like I did a second ago. Okay, just like I did a second ago, and then I'm going to boom, throw a knee. Okay, so I'm going to close up that range. Okay, so again, front stomp, put it down, and you throw a knee, or you can do a stepping knee is the other option. I think I did this in a movie once. So front stomp, and you take a step and throw a knee. Okay, either one's fine. Go for it. Just 5 on a side. Enjoy. Nice. So now we're moving on to side kick. From my experience, it's really hard to overextend a side kick because it's just the nature. You can't really overextend it. You just kind of kick to your extension and that's it. But in this case, let's assume they've kind of taken a little hop step back. Very common to see in Taekwondo, they take that little hop step to get out of range of your kick. So what you're going to do is you're going to use side kick, boom, and then skipping side kick right behind it. So don't even bother put your leg down, you just kind of skip right into it. It's like ashes around it. All right, so again, full leg side kick, step, skip, all right? Go for it. And I'm absolutely not throwing a skipping side kick to begin with. That makes it too easy. We did those the other day. Cool. So the next technique we're focusing on, backside kick. Okay. So I've thrown a lead leg backside, boom, and I do lose my balance or I do have to take that step forward, okay? So again, I'm going here, boom, but I'm just following it up with another one. You know, it's backside, opposite leg backside. So they step out of range. So I do my first backside here, boom, put it down in front, boom, and backside, backside. Go for it. So one backside, turn, other backside. Here. Really try and lose your balance forward on your backside kick with your first one. It's hard for me to do it, but just kind of losing your balance forward, so you're taking your head forward. So your second one's a little more honest. All right, now fixing on our failing roundhouse kick. So I don't care if you do lead leg roundhouse or back leg roundhouse, I'll show it as rear leg. In this case, I'm gonna go just past north. So I end up just twisting just past north and I can't recover it. So very common that you kick here, it's easy to recover it because you haven't gone your knee past. In this case, you're kicking knee past, you're gonna put that thing down, okay? So the failed roundhouse is one that goes past center. So boom, put it down. Back fist, right? Just right behind it, back fist. Now your choice, in that case I did foot replacement back fist for range, but you can absolutely do here where you bam, just right off of it. All right, go for it. So roundhouse to overextension to back fist. And just a kind of reminder on that back fist, it is a whip. It is not an arm. So get out of the habit of swinging a baseball bat and uncurl the whip. It's just got much more power in it and a lot faster. So just make sure you got the whip going. Whip's out there. Not trying to club them over with my forearm. All right, moving on. Not one of my combat kicks, but I know a lot of people like it, is the inside crescent kick. So in this case, I'm extending my hip a little bit, turn sideways so you can kind of see. I'm kind of hopping out there and trying to get it in range. And I'm gonna have to put it down in front. Or what I tend to do is they move just out of range. I'm just gonna turn it into a side kick, okay? Generally done low. So one more time, inside crescent to side, okay? Now, if you don't have the whatever wherefore, you can put it down in front and then do a side where you skip in a little bit, right? Either one's fine. So inside crescent to side kick. All right, moving on. So now I'm going to go to a true twist kick. So I'm going to bring my leg up and out, boom, just kicking up and out. And for me, they move out of range. The easiest way to think of it, boom, they move out of range. So I'm just going to turn it over and do a roundhouse kick right behind it. So again, twist, your whole hip transitions for a roundhouse. It's going to have about 12 inches more extension. So twist cup. Also good for kicking the guy over here and the guy in front, whichever way you want to consider it. Just a warning, it is a little bit of a hip grinder as you go. And again, a pro tip, really pay attention to how you're recovering your roundhouse. So I cover it back to a chambered side kick as opposed to pulling it back around, okay? Because that's going to take forever. I'm in a combative situation, so I'm going to go 1, 2, pull it back, 3 if I need to side kick after it. So just always watch your roundhouse recovery because it's hard to recover a roundhouse, especially if it's fully extended. So just bring it back to your hip. All right, so this one's kind of harks back to all the Taekwondo black belt tests I've watched over my lifetime. Never participated, but always had to watch them, either as a fellow candidate for a Hapkido black belt or a judge. So in this case, I'm going to do a half moon kick, boom, hammer fist. Okay? Traditional Taekwondo is roundhouse and hammer fist happen simultaneously. I don't like doing that because my groin's just a big old target. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a half moon kick, put it down in front, hammer fist off the front hand. Okay? You can be a back fist, but in this case we're just doing traditional, right? Go for it. So half moon, hammer. Good job, guys. Take a quick water break if you need one. We're going to come back to controls. So most of these controls start from what I consider kind of a generic fighting stance. So hands are out in front. They're not from a grab. They're not from a punch or anything like that. You can work them dynamically after the fact, but in essence, they're going to start from here. Okay? So the first control is I'm grabbing that hand and I'm going to cup it. So I'm going to do simple wrist. I'll show you the other side too. So I'm going to grab here, step back. Once I start the wrist lock, so this simple wrist lock, I'm going to pull straight out on that arm going down. So boom, they tend to come straight to the ground at that point because you got a wrist lock that's driving them forward. Okay? Once they're on the ground, I'm just going to do an arm bar against my knee. The other side looks like this. So this simple wrist comes down, they start pulling you to the ground. You lose your balance and your arm ends up in the air and they do an arm bar right here. Okay? That is control number one. That's white belt control. So the way to practice, okay? I'm going to do it open to begin with and then I'll close so you can see both sides. Is I'm just going to grab that hand, boom, this hand that's in front, I'm going to grab it, simple wrist lock it, pull it down, and then break it across my leg. Okay? It is that easy. Okay? They just tend to get dragged out. Okay? And again, if I can get hung on Friday, I'll work some of the controls so you guys can see them. This one is on YouTube, already under controls, and you can see it with a person. It was well before a pandemic. All right, so again, grab, stretch, pull. Okay? Looking at it from the other side, so I'm just going to switch sides here so you can kind of see. As I grab here, I'm going to pull out, and then I basically put this knee around, or I can step around their arm and break it going up. A very common Hapkido ending is where their arm is basically coming up through your leg, okay? And you're breaking it going up. Okay? So just practice simple wrist, pull down, take it back up again. Okay? Good to work on people, but they really whine about it, okay? Because it all is pain all the time. So. So just a kind of a technical note. Simple wrist lock is this lock where you're breaking it around. If you pull on that arm, it doesn't have a tendency to break the arm, okay? Unless you rotate and pull, you're gonna get the break, okay? Generally, if you wanna break the arm on the pull, you pull out and then jam it back into him and it will break going this way, okay? That's how you break on a simple wrist. So just important, as you pull it out, it breaks back towards you. If you're pulling towards you, it doesn't break because you're basically taking the radius all now and rotating, okay? So that's number one, okay? Number two. So for anybody that remembers it, I draw the sword. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull like they've got a sword. I'm going to cross step with their arm, and I'm going to pull that arm across their body. Okay? It's a cross step and turn using that. Okay? So one more time. I pull straight towards me. I then step across, go underneath their arm, and pull it across their belly. Okay? That is a cross step and turn. Okay? I draw the sword. So that's the start of the move. Okay? Once you've done a cross step and turn, so their arm basically goes like this. Okay? So again, it goes up, around, and comes up across their belly. Okay? All you're going to do is then pull start on that arm. Okay? So I'm not pulling it across them because that's going to break their arm. I'm literally pulling it out that way so their shoulders end up coming out. Okay? In this case, you're going to end up with them on their back and head up. I'll show you their side in a minute. So again, I pull, I do my cross step and turn, I then pull them out, and I end up in a armbar north-south. Okay? And I'll show you their side. So what happens is their arm gets pulled out, they're going to pull it back, this person does a cross step and turn, ends up here, they pull on that arm, you basically end up here, and your arm ends up north-south. Okay? And they just palm up and break it going down. So easy break. Okay? Flip it over if you want to break it literally going down, or you can put something underneath to break it the other way. Okay? So that's the technique. Bonus, you can always put your knee on their shoulder and isolate their arm all you want to and do any one of the joint locks you know how to do. So simple or rolling or any of those kinds of things. So one more time from my side, the guy doing the technique. Let me get across. So in this case, I'm pulling that arm out. I step across. I pull it across their body and then I pull straight out. Okay? I then break their arm going up, down. I generally kneel when I'm doing stuff like this, or if I'm in a combative situation, I'm just going to step on stuff, okay? And it's an easy break. From the person having it done to them, their arm's going to come up, around, and they get pulled. Boom. And they end up north-south. It's wildly effective at speed, okay? So as I'm practicing it, pull, step underneath. As soon as I get here, I pull on them and go to north-south.
Is the arm going behind your back, sir?
Which person's back? The person that's suffering the control or the one that's doing it?
The person that is doing it.
No point. So here, I draw the sword. It stays in front. It stays in front. I turn and pull. So it always, on my turn is where the transition happens from going frontwards to backwards. Good question. So just practice it a few times. Draw the sword is exactly that. You're drawing the sword, you're stepping, you're cutting them. In this case, you're pulling them. Kind of a pro tip when you're doing this on a person is as their arm comes out and goes around, there's a moment in which you can just break their arm. If you pull their arm past or their wrist past their hip, they're going to hyperextend their elbow across themselves. Okay? They just can't move fast enough. The out of this one is a flip. But you can stop them from flipping. So you can just break their arm. It's easy. Just take the arm across their chest. No one can do a standing flip with their center of gravity being that, or the flip gravity, flip center being above their center of gravity. It's really hard to do, especially on the fly like that. So you can just break their arm. Okay? But remember, controls are all about trying to control somebody. So you don't necessarily have to break them. You just put them in pain. So again, pull, step, pull before you get that arm across their body because you want their shoulder to start rotating out. And there's definitely a timing element. The timing being you have to work at the time of the individual. So if this is a big old person and you start jerking that arm really fast, it's just going to hyperextend. Okay? So you have to kind of get here and let their body mass catch up. Okay? So just kind of between control and break. You know, it's one of those subtle things. And there you go, 2 controls. Good to practice on people, and as I said, these first 2, actually the first 4 are already up on YouTube. Just look for controls on our channel, and they're being done on people. So, and I think I left the person's comment up there. I just try not to comment back on people that have no idea what they're talking about. So, as we get especially into the later controls, I've done these on human beings to try and get control of them, and it works. So, so there you go. Get to try my watch out. All right, so we're just gonna spend a few minutes doing throw setups. Okay, throw setups. Depending on your knees, my knees are a little sore at the moment, mostly because this is my 3rd class today. So when you're doing this particular single leg takedown setup, it's down forward, and we generally go inside arm up, bottom arm down. Okay, so outside arm down. Okay, so this is mostly to take that knee shot that people like to throw when you come shooting in on them. Is you're just going to catch that knee and break it going down. Okay, this is different than a BJJ single leg takedown. They look different. So in that case, they can come here, they scoop the leg, they then flip the leg over and take it either sideways or hip out. Okay? We're not doing that one. We're going to do the straight up, break their leg or hyperextend their knee one. Okay? So step forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the simple setup. Okay? And again, this is not randori. You know, this is random person on the street. You know, you're having to take somebody to the ground. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Just try and get 5 on a side. I'm going to go nice and easy on my knees, just because my knees are a little wonky at the moment. And make sure you work both sides. Don't cheat yourself, and always have a strong side. All right, so bonus, just because I always like giving you guys bonuses, because you guys are awesome, is now I'm going to do 1, 2, and I bring that arm in, but now my lead leg is going to shoot behind their leg. So it's going to go behind their leg. I'm going to scoop it into me, and I'm just going to lay down on it. And they're going to basically have a leg trapped. Okay? You can almost do a half guard knee lock when you get to the end of it, if you know what that looks like. So again, so here I step in. 1, I'm always going to have that shield in place for that knee. Shoot across, boom, and take them to the ground. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, if you're a little smaller and you're having trouble, you can also go 1, 2, shoot this leg underneath, grab with both hands, put your shoulder through their knee, get what you want to. Just a warning, if you're going to work this on your significant other or your partner or whatever, be super careful because it's easy to hyperextend that knee. Most people want to resist falling backwards, and that's when they hyperextend their knee, so be super careful. Okay? All right, so next technique we're working, we're doing forward shoulder, okay? So on forward shoulder, it's also known as steer the bus. This person's kind of walking into me, okay? I hate to get mass moving. I like when mass is already moving. So either they're coming in for a push, they're gonna shove me one-handed, that works even better. So all I'm gonna do is gonna grab outside of their lapel, or outside their sleeves, depending on where the big fabric is. They don't have any, maybe you're dealing with somebody that's got no shirt on. Grab their triceps, that will work too, okay? Or deltoids, okay? So I'm grabbing both. I step back, 1, steering that body down, and 2, transitioning across, okay? In slow motion, it says 1, 2, okay? At speed, especially when they're stepping into you, it just looks like boom, bam. You know, they tend to fly through the air because you're doing all the work. Here's kind of the pro tip. So as I step back, I break, basically they have a clear path past me, okay? Boom. When I take the other step, I step across that totally, And I'm just making them go 1, 2, always forward. Okay? So the biggest mistake I see is people try and move this person around them. And dude, I never like to move people around me. I like them to do all the work. Okay? So you can do it as a 1, especially if they're coming in and they're like getting ready to push you. Man, just do it as a 1. A 1 being smash. We call it planting. So you're just going to put them on the ground right there. Okay? And the key on that one, again, is I'm just breaking out of their way and driving their shoulder to the ground, their opposite shoulder to the ground. Okay? That's the smash drill. Okay? And particularly effective. So again, they're reaching one arm forward. You're just basically helping them to the ground. And that is a forward shoulder. You'll find if you do a passing inside block, you're here just pass, you can do the same thing where you smash them to the ground. It depends on if they're doing that step through punch that a lot of people that don't know anything about martial arts do. They kind of step through and punch. You just got to catch it and smash. Okay? And that's forward shoulder. We tend to work it from static, which means you need that initial balance take in order to throw. But once they start moving, you want to finish them moving. Okay? So again, it's like steering a bus. So you're steering a bus. Where the steering wheel gets lower and lower and lower. All right, next technique. Because I think we should always work next techniques. My favorite technique, major outer reap. So in this case, I'm just off-stepping, catching, going. And that's the more judo one. Or if I want to do the more traditional jiu-jitsu one, I'm going to grab outside shoulder here, grab wrist here. I'm going to be pushing, and I'm going to replant on that one. Okay? Either one's fine. I originally learned it as inside of the arm and hip, opposite hip. And that works okay, but the jiu-jitsu one I find works better in combative situations. And that is you have one grip on their arm, and you grab their opposite sleeve, collar. You step in, and you push with this collar to smash them to the ground, okay, as you reap them. Okay? So it kind of looks like this going sideways. 1, 2, bam. Make sure you get your fist to the ground because you're just planting them. Okay? So again, 1, 2, go nice and slow.
So what's the balance take in this one?
So good question. So all you're doing on them is you're pulling a little bit forward and then pushing the shoulder back. So unless they're good at limbo, they're going to have trouble when their body kind of ends up in that orientation, okay, where you're rotating. Try it on yourself. Okay? Push your lead shoulder back over your hip and pull your arm out. You'll find it's unpleasant. Okay? And you can't move the leg that's about to get reaped, okay? Because this leg is now grounded to the ground. Okay? So that's what you're working. So kind of the most common mistake I see is this leg that goes out to the non-reaping leg needs to be parallel to their feet. The most common mistake is you put it in front of their feet and you're reaching with your leg to get the reap. If you reach, you're going to be off balance and they can counter throw you. So I like to be parallel with the feet as I drive this leg forward. Nice. And kind of the bonus on this technique is I start with those 2 grips that I start with, and I just knee them in the gut. So I just knee them to begin with, and then I reap them. Boom. So the same leg's doing both activities. So you're getting your knee in place and then just reaping them. Because they're going to do this, and then they're going to do this. It's particularly fun to watch, not particularly fun to have it done to you. So again, so step out, boom, throw a knee. FYI, completely illegal in any competition. All right, so I'm sure you guys knew that. Fun. And good practice is put a pad or a cat or a pen or something so that you get used to kind of stepping in. So in this case, I'm about 3 feet away from my line. I'm going to step in and making sure I get a good step, okay? Because you don't want to baby step that first one. Okay? All right, so next one, hip roll. Okay? I won't use the Japanese name because I'll slaughter it. So in this case, they've thrown a punch around me. So they're just doing this, boom. Or they've thrown a straight punch, doesn't really matter. Okay? I'm going to grab that arm, okay, to block. I'm going to step foot, push my backside through them as I lift with that shelf. So I go 1, 2, boom, throw. It is important you're not throwing with your back. That's what everybody seems to do, is throw with their back. Okay? If you're getting here, going 1, 2, you lift with your legs. That's what takes them off the ground. And then throw. Okay? Now, if you're working with a fire hydrant type of person, this throw is not the throw to go to. Okay? You know, if they're heavier and shorter than you are, they're better throws. This is not the technique. Nice work. So pro tip on this one, again, comes from the archives of Mr. Waldrop, is as you go here, as you throw, pull back on that arm and you'll hyperextend the elbow as they fall. My old instructor actually did this to a human being. So as that punch comes out, they basically get thrown, and as they're falling, you can hyperextend their arm if you pull up on that arm as they go. Okay? And you basically hip armbar it as they fall. So again, same kind of technique. I'm here. I'm going to block 1, 2, step in, boom, and then just arch back at the end. Okay? And that's how you hyperextend an elbow in the technique. Yes, sir. Question.
I've seen in people who do jiu-jitsu, they recommend when you step in, the arm that is going across your chest, you should like extend it out fully, and then you do your technique. Is there a plan to that?
What they're doing is really trying to get balance to go forward. So the jiu-jitsu technique is BJJ technique is slightly different. Okay? So the footwork is different. Here we're dealing with a punch coming in, boom, and they're already transitioning their force forward. Okay? If they're standing static, or in essence you're in randori, the jiu-jitsu one is I'm going to basically have the same position, right? I'm going to be grabbing this collar and this shoulder or this hip. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to step in 1, okay, 2, 3. Is how they do it. Because they get ready for the counter technique, which is you do your 1, 2, and you're ready, and then they step behind everybody and basically do what we call a James Brown throw, where your foot's against their foot and they're falling backwards. So you have your choice at that point. So if they're leaning forward, that means you go forward. If they're leaning back to fight that hip roll, you basically go backwards at that point. Okay? But the footwork is very specific. It's 1, 2, and then I have a choice. They're sitting right here. I've come to the side of them, and I'm ready to go. And I can either step here, push, or I can step here and throw as you push through. Okay? So that's the one I've seen in BJJ. Okay? Is a little less of this circle in, throw, boom, and a little bit more of the, we're in randori, the beginning of a match, and I want to throw you in that situation, and you're going to stop me. So I'm just going to get to the side of you. And by the way, you can also suplex there. I think it's illegal though. But you can basically get to the side of them, and then this leg chooses to go in front of them or behind them. Behind them is one of the drop trips, and in front of them is this roll. So that's what I've seen. And of course, feel free to test it out in a lab after COVID's over. I'm all about testing these things. All right, last one we're doing today is front trip. So front trip, I'm just reaching across in front of somebody and pulling them down to the ground. Okay? Now I tend to do it with 2 hands, so I'm just going to step across and throw. Okay? So all you're doing is cross step, and you reach inside their lapel, step across, make sure your knee's bent, and then pull them over. Okay? You can grab their head in the middle of it and trip them that way. Okay? Either way works. So what happens to this person is their leg gets trapped on the, here I'll stand forward, leg gets trapped here and the shoulder gets pulled forward, and they either have to hop or hyperextend. It's their choice. Okay? So generally they hop, and that's when the throw happens, okay? Because your leg is up against their knee. So you're stepping right up against their knee, boom, okay? So again, reaching inside their lapel, grabbing their arm, turning, boom, okay? It is very similar to a shoulder pull-down technique, one favored by my significant other when she's doing jiu-jitsu. She just grabs somebody and then just drops. And yeah, they tend to smash shoulder first into the ground. Okay? It's the same kind of technique, only we're doing a little bit more, I won't say kinder and gentler, but I want to end up standing up when we're done. So as always, just adding a little Hapkido to our perfectly good throw. As I get here and I don't like it, I'm just going to pick up my leg. Or I'm going to get here and then just kick in their leg. Either one works. As you turn that corner, you just pick up that inside leg and smash. Okay? It also looks a lot like another judo throw where you get here and you do the side of your leg through their groin. Okay? I think we call that floating. But so again, 1, 2. This is the judo version where they table it. Okay? And that generally requires you to be almost the same weight, which is really good in competition, really bad in self-defense. Okay? And as always, a bonus, as I come in, so I'm going to reach in, I'm going to cross elbow them into the face, right? So I'm just going to hit them as I come in, and then pull them to the ground. Okay? And you guys are smaller, working with a bigger person, you get here, 1, hit them in the face, boom. You just drop that knee, and they tend to land right in front of you as a positional change. Okay? So again, I reach 1, elbow, boom, just drop forward, and they end up dumping right in front of you. Okay? And a note on the positional one, as I get here, I like to drive my leg back, so I make their leg go away. Okay. Boom, yep, that's exactly right. So nice work today, guys. As I said, we'll do some more controls probably on Friday. Nice workout all the way around. For those guys watching on YouTube, you can always join us online. Just send us an email, info@blackknight.com.